All right, coming to you, boys and girls, from the American Inn by Wyndham in Wyoming. I got Brandon Purcell with me, and we just shot NRL Hunter day one here in Wyoming, Buffalo Bills Revenge. And yeah, we just wanted to do a little day one recap. Brandon, this is his first match ever.
Yep. There's some good shots made and some bad shots made.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know where we'll start here, but Brandon, I've hunted a lot with Brandon. Killed some stuff, helped pack out some bulls, shot some photos, shot some video, spent a lot of time on the mountain, but
Yep.
I don't know if we've ever really shot guns together.
A little bit. We did that one long range shooting course a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the tactic thing.
Yep.
And then you haven't really like shot.
Yeah.
Other than that.
But I've been obviously shooting competitively and just spending a lot of time with it. And then had this match line up on the schedule, and Jared was going to come with me. He had to do some other things with family, which is understandable. And I was like, yo, Brandon, you want to go? He was like, yeah, bro. I was like, okay, sick, dude. I'll build you a gun. It's going to be great. I was like, Jared and I have all the stuff. This will be easy. And then I was like, he's a lefty. So that was a minor wrench. Fortunately, Chad from Defiance, he's a lefty. He shipped a gun down, and then I built it for Brandon, gave it to my fiance. Then that got transferred to Missoula to Brandon.
Yep.
And then you had a week with the rig.
Yeah, just about. Yeah, right at a week. Yeah, it went pretty good. I mean, I got really lucky, and my good buddy Zack and put all the right numbers into the Swaros. Had I not had that, it would have been a little bit longer of like a dialing in process, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But that was a nice leg up for sure.
Yeah, so I got Brandon a rifle, like a whole rifle, bipod, a single bag, and Swaro EL ranges. And I think some ammo.
Yep.
That was kind of it. And then it was up to you to kind of sort the rest out. I was like, let me know if you have any questions. Like, you know, get a zero, download the Swaro app, go shoot like 400 and 1,000, and just like figure out what you got to dial into your gun, you know, to hit and hit right. And then like just line it up in the app. You don't need a chrono, but like.
Yeah.
And so then we get here yesterday at check-in. It's like, the Kestrel hasn't been lining up, man. I don't know. I was like, how's the Kestrel not lining up? So I was like, all right, let me see your app. He's like, what app? Like this app? And I'm like, this is not the Swaro app, dude. I was like, you haven't done anything in the binos?
Yeah, nothing, dude. I just thought it was on. I was like, man, just stroke of luck, you know?
Fortunately, Chad's gun has a little longer carbon barrel. And I had my 6.5 Creedmoor shooting the same ammo, possibly a different lot, down in Idaho at the Snake River PRS, and had that profile in the EO ranges. So it was super close. Like, we fiddled with it, but I pretty much didn't even touch it.
No, because, I mean, I shot out to like 1,300 with it the first day, and I was like, man, what a guy. These things are like dialed.
I was wondering why all week Brandon hadn't really called me with too many questions, and I was like, I don't know. Like, he's figuring it out. He's got it dialed in. Sweet. Because I was busy, so I wasn't going to like pester you and be like, how's it going?
For sure.
Like, getting it figured out. I was like, I haven't heard from him. He must be doing good.
Man, it's nice. It was my first time shooting like a chassised rifle too, so like getting used to that, and like I felt so much more immediately comfortable like behind that gun than I've ever felt like just with a rifle.
Yeah,
you know, because you get behind it and your hand position's like perfect, and like your trigger fingers, like you're gonna get that like straight back pull, and you don't have to like fight to adjust your hand, you know.
Yeah.
So like shooting, especially with that style gun, like shooting longer range, I think it just makes it like easier.
Yeah.
You know, because even from my other rifle, which is sick, I don't think that like the hand grip for me doesn't fit as well, you know? So I have to like fight it. And where these rifles, it's like, dude, I'm just easy.
Before we go into how the shoot went today, let's go through your rifle progression.
Yeah.
What was kind of like, we don't have to go too far back, but your first like real hunting rifle.
I've only had like personally like 3 guns.
Yeah.
And like started out, my dad gave me a Ruger M77 left-handed, like when I was probably 12, 13 years old. Or no, it was later. It was probably like 15, and I rocked that for a long time. And how do you go back and you shoot a gun like that now? And it's just like, dude, it rocks you so bad. And then the trigger is like 8 or 9 pounds. So it's like, and you go to shoot it and you're just like the whole time, like, oh man, once you feel that trigger start to creep, you're like, ah. And then you pull the wall and it finally like breaks and you're just like so psyched out. Like it was hard to really shoot that well, and you wonder, I don't wonder why I missed things when I was a kid. Cause it was like, dude, yeah, of course, you're like, that thing kicks like a horse. Yeah. Comparatively to now.
Heavy trigger, a lot of recoil.
Oh, dude, it's not easy to manage. And then, after that, I didn't really rifle hunt much for a long time just because, like, bow hunting, like, after I killed my sheep, it was just kind of like, well, this is a really cool thing to do. And it felt more engaging to me to, like, archery hunt, for a long time because it was like, it was sick. It's sick getting to watch your arrows, like, sink. So it took me a while, and then when I think it was like I had a client and we like killed a great bull with a rifle, and it was kind of got me in like the mindset like I need to get a gun just to like have, and the client's rifle was a Kimber Mountain Ascent in 30-06, which was my previous gun, so I kind of had like a romantic attachment to that round. Yeah. And I just happened to find one at Murdoch's like on sale, like 35% off or something like that. And those rifles at the time were like $2,000. So I like found it for like $1,100. I was like, dude, I'm solid, And like that gun was great. And honestly, like, people bitch about that gun, like not being accurate because it's super light. And I will say like, it is a great 400-yard gun. Yeah. But like anything outside of that, dude, and you're just like, that's a hope and a prayer. It's, dude, you give it outside of 4, you're giving it like maximum 75-30 to 75-20, probably like, it's just hard to shoot.
Odds aren't great.
No, for sure. Even if ranges, dude, it's like, it's just not meant for it. And then I had that for a long time, and then it just kind of like, you saw, or I don't know if you saw it, but I take it to Logan to get clean, and it's just like trash, just from years of guiding, hunting, and like, I hunted with that rifle a lot from everywhere from Mexico.
But it was, you took it to Logan because it wasn't working?
Yeah, the trigger stopped like working because there was like
because it was like rusted through.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
The gun had like rusted into this decrepit state of no longer functioning.
For sure. And I don't think that's just specific to my gun. I think of a lot of guys up in like that. You spend a time up in Alaska and it's like, it's just going to destroy your gun. You just can't keep your stuff dry. And I was already kind of in the mindset of like, I should probably, because that gun was right-handed, which is like fine. Like I could run the bolt, and it was only an 0.6, so it didn't feel like it was like hitting you in the face. Yeah. But you realize that it has limitations. And when you have opportunities occasionally that you can't capitalize on, you're like, dude, I need a gun that I can like shoot out to like 600-700. I don't feel like I need to shoot 700 yards, but like, it'd be nice to have a precision rifle to just do it. Yeah. And then you're not like worried about it, like, thinking, am I going to make this shot or not? Just having a gun that you can be like, yes. So Logan built me that 300 PRC, which is a sick gun. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have now killed some great stuff with that. I felt like I took to it really quick, just that more vertical grip style. And obviously having like the Night Force on there just to be able to like range, dial, shoot. And that's what I've been shooting for the last like 3 seasons. Yep. And then this gun that I'm using now, it's like a 6.5 Creedmoor. And I went from like that 300 PRC. I feel like you can't get away from it. It has substantial recoil. I mean, it's a Magnum 300 round. It's not like it's pew. So it's crazy to go from that, having like a Magnum cartridge, to going to this 6.5 Creedmoor. Cause it's just like, dude, I felt like I'm just shooting a 22. Yeah. You can see all your impacts. Like you're not getting so rocked. Like I feel like even just in the week that I've had that rifle and then, doing this, I feel like my confidence in shooting a gun is just like, you know.
Yeah, because you got to focus on like shooting it,
Right.
instead of like surviving it. Which you're not surviving it with a 300 PRC, but you're not going to go do what we did today unless you shoot a lot and you're like, I just want to shoot a match with my 300 PRC. You know, like,
for sure.
it's not really optimized for like max rounds, like a lot of time behind the gun.
No, like that gun heats up after like 3 or 4 shots.
Yeah.
And the barrel is definitely like warm. I mean, there's certainly times today where I kind of wish that I would have had it. Just in those two.
A little extra punch to the wind.
Yeah, those 2 stages that I had like really whiffed. It was just like, I don't know. I don't know if I would have made him with that, but that bullet has substantially less wind drift. Yeah. You know, but it's harder to shoot.
And then you're going to build a 6.5 PRC.
Yep.
Jared and I this spring.
Yep. Which should be getting completed anytime now.
Yeah.
Which would kind of be nice because it'll be like.
What made you want to build that gun?
Just seeing your gun last year. Yeah. You know, when you were like shooting it out in the field, and I was like, man, that's like pretty. Because you had it last spring, right?
Yeah, I built it early last, probably about the same time you'll build your gun last year.
Because you had it, I think, when we went out.
I bear hunted with it, so I had it a little bit before bear season. Yeah.
Yeah. And just like, you know, seeing that round, it's got like great ballistics and it has just like, you know, it's a 6.5 caliber, but it has like a more magnum velocity, I guess, you know, and just.
It's going to be more like the 6.5 Creedmoor where you can really like.
For sure.
Shoot a lot and see a lot.
Yeah.
Not that you can't see with the 300 PRC, you just have to be way more dialed than a smaller.
And I feel like even when you're like on it and you get like a good, that barrel just comes like back, it's still enough of like a kick to where you're not like, I feel like I shoot pretty decent. And I feel like I struggle to like, not like with that gun.
That's another, I feel like, advantage to running a suppressor, because I run suppressed on everything, is like the 300 PRC's got some boom.
Yeah.
And I feel like just your experience, if you shot your 300 PRC suppressed.
For sure.
You know, because there's like this, it's called dwell time, which is like when that bullet goes off, you're kind of like, it's an explosion in your face, right?
Yeah.
Like, so your body kind of like, you know.
For sure.
Before it can really start thinking and like doing things. It's just less with a suppressor. Because you don't have that huge like concussion and sound like rocking you.
For sure.
Not that you can't like see it and shoot well with it, but I think it's easier with a suppressed rifle on the big dogs.
Even like yesterday when we were like shooting at like the sight-in, it was crazy to watch your gun, and then we had like a couple people like shoot next to us, and like, dude, the muzzle brake like whoop.
It like hits you.
Yeah. I mean, the 2 guys, they were shooting the same caliber like we are, and it was I at one point thought that guy was shooting like a 300, and I like looked, I was just like, dude, what is going on? That may have had to do with where they were lined up on that line, though. You know, like
that's the worst part of matches for me. Is I just hate going and sitting next to a bunch of brake guns trying to shoot a zero and shoot some steel.
For sure, that is rough.
It's nice to just be on your own. Got to do it.
For sure.
Yeah, that'll be sweet. The gun that Brandon's building is going to have the same chassis as what he's shooting now, so it'll be pretty dang similar, and probably running a Night Force on it. And
it'll pretty much just
it'll be super close to the gun you're shooting, which is cool to be able to shoot a match.
For sure.
With something very similar to what you're going to hunt with and take into the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely like a huge I know it's like a slightly bigger shell casing, but it's like, I don't really think that's going to be like too much of an issue.
No, just a little bit more pop, but it's
like
I shot that NRL Hunter match with my 6.5 PRC last year and got second in my class.
Oh,
and
nice.
Like saw a lot, and
sure,
it's basically the same.
Yeah, for sure.
What was your the week that you had the rifle preparing? Like, what did you kind of do to get ready?
Well, I like sighted it in, like zeroed at 100, which didn't take too long, and then I actually sighted it in and realized that when I sighted it in, it wasn't at 100 yards. I sighted it in at like a buck, like 25, a buck 30. I went and reshot it, and like it really wasn't like that much of a difference. I was just like, you know what, like I think I'm just gonna let it ride. And, I felt pretty comfortable with it. like where I'm at, like I can shoot cross canyon and it's like generally like fairly windy and there's a lot of like wind this way, wind that way, and like in various spots. But I shot it the first day I had it, it really wasn't like that bad. It was pretty consistent one way. And so I was just like, yeah, this was at the time where I was like, my Kestrel's not lining up with this at all. And it really wasn't because like, I mean, I look at the wind call on that or like the dope and it was like not even close, but the binos just for Mariah, which was, felt like a huge, like I didn't have to think about it. I mean, I shot like 400 and I was like, oh, that's perfect. And then I shot like 6 and I was like, okay, cool. And then I shoot 7 and I was like, this is really working out, And then I shot out to like the one shot, like the last couple that day were like 1,300. And you can like easily see the impact. I was like, well, that looked pretty good. And I was shooting like, bigger rocks. But then, there's still like, cause I've always trusted the Kestrel. But then just like not seeing it line up and like even having some issues with my other gun, like I was kind of just like, not totally confident in it. So it was nice to like get here and actually like see you manipulate the data to try to like get it to match up, because I was like kind of figuring it out, but then I was like, dude, this isn't just like whatever. And then watching you do it, I was like, okay, it's not that bad, but it was a lot nicer after we get it like dialed.
Yeah.
Where both of them link, like we're pretty close. I'm still relying on like the measurement from the binos, just, it's been pretty right on.
But then you kind of can use the Kestrel for wind.
Yep.
For sure. The EL ranges don't have any wind input. It's just like a ballistic curve, which is nice. I mean, honestly, today your dope was probably off a little bit because there was no aerodynamic jump of like a 20-mile-an-hour wind hitting the bullet, So like your up and downs, like it seemed like it worked, but like I'm sure there were some where like if your Kestrel was dialed, you would have been even more precise,
for sure.
But it seemed like, everything went pretty good.
I felt like most of my misses today were just left and right, and then the first day it was the second stage that I really like didn't do well on. I just like I misunderstood it, and then I just like didn't range properly, and I was because every shot was like high. And I just thought it was because I was like kind of flustered and trying to like just power through it, But other than that, I felt like the dope up and down was like really good.
Yeah.
Unless I like misranged or, something.
Did you practice any like timed anything at your house or like positions, or did you just kind of like make sure the gun was?
I lit like generally like when I'm like phone scoping a shot, like I'll like set it up in the phone scope, hit record, and kind of just have the gun like sitting there, and then I'll try to like get in and shoot it like 3 times inside of like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And not that like, it's definitely not the same as what you like experienced today, but it's like still kind of like forces you to like, okay, I'm not trying to rush, but I got to like get through this, And I didn't really like, honestly, I've shot so much prone, like off the backpack and stuff. Like I feel very confident in that. And so I didn't really like practice that much. I was more just like, I didn't, you don't know what you're signing up for. So you're just like, well, I better like not just be shooting prone and then I get in there and I'm having to like be all weird. So I have like a electrical spool that I had set up and I practiced some shots like front bag, and then I was using the tripod as like a rear support, and then shooting off the tripod, that kind of stuff. I mean, I tried as much as to not just shoot prone as possible, because that's like, if you're shooting prone and you have a back bag, like, dude, your rifle, at that point, it should only kind of be like a wind call, or if you're like, for real.
Yep. Sweet. So then, we got down there yesterday, confirmed 0, made sure that Brandon's data was all right. And then today, we knew we were going to have winds, but we started on stage 18, which was 1 coyote, 4 positions, and I was like, Brandon, we'll just have you shoot first. Like in NRL, you can't watch other shooters, but I was like, at least if he shoots ahead of me and like he wants to watch me shoot a stage just to like see how I do it with more experience, he can. And you like kind of got you all lined out. You went down there. I heard impact, next position.
For sure.
Impact, next position. I was like, yeah, impact. And
Yeah.
Brandon cleaned the first stage. I was like, great. I don't have to tell you anything else. Or stay on your own, cat.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. I mean, that was like, I just like, you don't want to like, not that I care. I'm just like, this is just fun to be here. But you don't want to like do poorly.
No, you want to do well.
For sure. And so it's like the ace in the first 4 felt pretty good. Yeah. I mean, it was granted, I don't know how far it was. It wasn't that far. It was like 300.
No, I think that was like a 500-yard.
Oh, well, that makes me feel better.
It wasn't a chip. It wasn't like a slam dunk stage.
For sure. I mean, but I like ranged it, and I guess I didn't look at the range on that one because it's one distance, basically. Yeah, it's one shot.
Yep.
And you're not having to engage multiple targets.
No, you just dialed it.
Just dial. Yeah, and then kind of, I don't know, at a certain point, there was no wind.
Yeah.
So it's just a vertical hold. And just, I mean, it was pretty good. It was a coyote.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty sweet.
Yep.
That stage went really well.
Yeah. The first one. Not sure what the big deal is, guys. I'll pick you up later. I don't know. You guys can have fun shooting the rest of these.
Yeah, for sure. He gets you. Not that I felt cocky, but I was just like, I just feel it makes you feel stoked. You're like, I just laced the first 4, and now knowing that there's 500 some yards makes you feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was that high was quickly brought down. I'm just, we got to the next stage, and the next stage was a bit of a walk. We started on 18, which is the far end of the course, and then like walked like the mile back and set up. And that stage, it was just like, it was one target, 4 positions.
Yep.
And for some reason, I just misunderstood like the vector fire, and I was looking in the totally wrong place. And then I was just like, oh man, this is dumb. I'm like, and then I see it, and I'm like, dude, I just wasted like how long looking for this thing, and then I misrange it. I range like the brush behind it because I'm like rushing. I did not do so well on that stage.
Yeah, that was another one target, 4 positions.
Yep.
I didn't do very great there either. I thought the wind was tricky today. I mean, especially when it first starts picking up, you're like, it was it was fishtailing from our 6 o'clock. So it could be a left hold or a right hold. And I could have sworn it felt like it should have been a right hold.
Yeah.
And I slipped it off the right side, which the first shot didn't splash. There was no splash. So I was like, So I was like, I'm just going to shoot it again. I shot it again and I was like, So I dropped 2 right there. And then I think I got a first round impact holding straight up. Went to the 3rd position. I think I missed, impacted, and then got to 4 and hit. So I got out of there with a 5, but that was tough.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't feel like, looking back on it now, I'm like, that shouldn't have been that bad.
No, it shouldn't have.
I feel like if I would have been able to like find it and not be an idiot and like find it right off, it would have given me more time to like make a good position. But instead I was like, dude, I got like a minute and a half left by the time you're like set up.
Yeah.
So you like miss, go to the next position. And like, that was weird too. Cause it was like the first position was even like, it was downhill rolling, but then you were laying across it trying to shoot that way. Mm-hmm. And like your gun, it had to kind of be like downhill you. And it was like that was not an easy, and then even on the tree wasn't like an easy shot.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing to like get your back into. And it went from like, what was it? It was like beside the tree.
Prone, then it was in the nook, and then it was on like the side of the tree, which is lame. And then it was like low branch that you could shoot prone almost.
For sure. That wasn't great. Zeroed that stage.
The highs are high and the lows are low.
The highs are, for sure. Just enough to be dangerous,
What else? How did the day go? You had fun, it sounded like.
Oh man, it was great. That was like, it was so much fun just like shooting guns all day.
Yeah.
And not like, because hunting you could just get kind of like spun up on, trying to like kill something, and it's very intense.
Yeah.
And this is just like, dude, it's a great way to become a better hunter.
Yeah.
For sure. Because you see like, oh man, I got to build a position like quick, and like, and granted, a lot of the targets we're shooting at today were not very big, so it's like, it really kind of makes you dial in, without the pressure having to kill anything.
Yeah.
So you can just have like fun.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I could see taking it seriously. I totally get that from today. It's like, dude, you could definitely like a little bit of practice, like you could be competitive at it, you know.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, I think it's fun just to like have fun.
Yeah.
Probably do better anyway.
You want to be in a positive mindset as often as you can.
For sure. For sure.
It's beneficial.
For sure.
I had one stage where I had to ration my lunch off because I got a 4 that I shouldn't have got. And I was mad. It's like, you don't even deserve lunch or dinner or breakfast tomorrow.
I mean, I only outshot you in like 2 or 3 rounds, but I was always like, oh, dude, that was rough for me. It was nice and validating, I felt like, except for the couple that I zeroed and you actually did fairly well on. The ones that like, I think it felt like when we struggled on them, it was kind of like similar, like the similar stages, you know, other than like the other ones that I zeroed.
Yeah, the wind pretty quickly, like, well, you probably got to shoot like 4 stages and then the wind.
Really?
Well, it was like 2 stages. It was like we shot 1 stage with no wind. And then basically stage 2, it was like, which way is it coming behind us? Yeah. And then it was like the next 4 stages were just like super erratic winds.
Yeah, because it went from like being
like,
at our...
Was it at our butt or was it a left or was it a right or like...
Yeah, that was weird. Because there was a couple where it was like coming at like 6 o'clock to 7 and you're like, dude, where am I supposed to hold on that, you know?
Was there anything that you felt like you like really learned today from shooting in those different positions and using the equipment? And
I think a lot of like where like as far as like shooting goes and like process, I feel like the stages that I like that I like zeroed, I felt like were just a result of me not like taking the proper time to like get a solid range, or like even the one where like it was super windy and I just, you know, getting an accurate like wind hold reading and like executing that. Because it's one thing to see the number, but that's another thing when like you get on the, you know, your reticle to like, you know, just wasn't thinking about it enough. And just made the wrong wind. And then by the time I realized what I was doing, I was like, oh, you're an idiot. You know, you're not holding nearly enough.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about, you've been an MOA shooter. I put a mill scope on there for Brandon, so he's been shooting the whole mat this last week in the match in mills. Anything you like or dislike about it so far? Or?
I think it's, I think it feels like it covers the, like, the decimal chart better, you know, as far as like, I know they say that MOA is like more or whatever. I don't know that they're more accurate or not, but
it's just a more fine click is all.
Yeah. It just seems like, you know, you'll range something and it'll be like 4.83 as opposed to like 4.83 with a quarter MOA. That's a lot different because you're right in between like 0.75 and 2. And that feels to me, I don't, you know, and again, like I'm not super automatic with like that conversion from mils to inch or mils to MOA, but like, you know, that feels like a bigger jump than if it's 0.85.
Yeah.
You know, between 8 and 9.
Gotcha. Like the rounding up or down feels less to you.
For sure. It just feels like
I don't know what I'd have to go do the conversion to know. It's definitely less if it's a 0.25 MOA, I think, than a... Yeah, I don't know. I don't ever try to do the conversions. I just put the right stuff into the Kestrel and whatever it tells me is what I shoot. And then if I don't hit there, I make the adjustment. And I hopefully hit there, but
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like using it. It's something different. You try not to get like so used to something that's all you could ever shoot, you know. It is nice.
How was it trying to hold wind for you?
Pretty good. I mean, once I like felt like I kind of dialed it more in towards the end of the day. I mean, it's not that it's like idiot proof, but as long as you're like holding right. I mean, on that, like towards the end, I felt like I was getting a wind reading on the Kestrel, but I was having to like add more, you know, or like hold more like left, you know. So it's like, I mean, it's definitely, you get one reading off the Kestrel, but then in real time, it's like generally not. At least
Yeah,
for
I mean, the
me.
wind, like, I think I got a wind pull when we switched to other side of the course. There was one stage where we shot where we had to hold a right wind today, but
Yeah.
that was like between 16 and 30.
Whoa.
So
Yeah.
if your Kestrel's set for 20,
For sure.
the difference between an 18 and a 24,
Yep.
which that's kind of the thing is it's wind calling at the end of the day that like allows guys to really excel at these matches. Cause like if you can start out with a really good wind call and if you're on plate and then walk it to the center and shoot it, versus like, oh, I'm off plate. Then I got to try to make a correction.
Yeah.
Hope that I get it,
For sure. For sure. I mean, the stages that you like hit the first one, you're like, oh yeah, I got this, like.
Yeah. Which like the more you shoot matches, the more you realize that like, oh, I should have really like, even though I hit the plate, I should have really been trying to like
see where.
Was it center?
Yeah.
Or did I just see the plate rock and was like, I hit it, I centered it, And like the really good guys will be like, oh, I need to add a 10th.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
Instead of 5/10, it's 6/10.
For sure.
So that their margin of error is even greater, which it just takes a lot of time to like be that at that
for
level.
Sure. Yeah, and like even today, I mean, there wasn't like a lot of grass out there, so it's kind of hard. You could feel it where you were at, but then you like look across and there's no frame of reference as far as like
it's pine trees that are going back and forth.
For sure. Yeah, that was like yeah, if anything else, it's just like that is art in itself, like just being able to be like, okay, it is doing this here, but then how is that going to affect everything that way?
What was your last wind hold of the day?
Oh my God, it was like 2.5 or something like that. Or like, I think it was
2.5 mils.
I think it was 2.6 mils left at 850.
Yeah.
Which was like, I missed the first two shots, but then I made the correction because I was like, they hit, I mean, like in the same, I guess I held like 1.2 and that wasn't enough. And then I held 1.4. That was not enough. And then the next one, I was like, well, I'm holding 1.6 and just like, boom, 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 and I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, then, yeah.
Feels good when you hold that far off plate. You definitely want to make sure your gun's level.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's like when level really comes into play, right? When you start taking your crosshair movement over here. If you start not having that level and you move it over, like,
it's
your up and down start getting wide. Like you just start.
It's not the same if your thing's canted like that. Like it's not. No, not at all. Not at all.
So that's where getting leveled up is big time on long bombs with wind.
Yep.
Well, sweet. Yeah, Brandon shot really, really well for first ever match. I feel like there was not a lot of. I feel like it was just some lack of experience and just, like it's just hard.
Yeah, I feel
like if you found the targets and the positions weren't too crazy, like unique, like you pretty much worked through it and shot well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely did better with like either the 4 positions, 1 target, or like the ones where there was multiple targets, multiples. Like,
like a 2 and a 2.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I am probably just lack of experience, and being able, and like the one, I was an idiot and just shot the second target at first, and I was like, you make mistakes. He's like, you're not even shooting at the right target. And I was like, you know what? I'm not. Yeah, thanks for that, bud. And I'm not hitting it either. So, yeah. So whatever, talk some. Yeah, I don't care. Probably make, and after those 2 that I just totally just zeroed, my shooting did get better.
Oh yeah.
Well,
it had to get better.
There was
I guess you could have stayed in the 0 group, but it got better.
I know. I was having such a good time all day too, and I was like, I didn't even like think about it, but I kind of felt like I started to like feel a little bit more negative. And I was like, dude, you're just out here having fun. Who cares? Like if you can just turn that into just like a positive, I feel like it's just funner. And then you're not in your head like, I'm doing shitty. Like,
It's good to dig out of the hole because you definitely get in the hole hunting.
Woof.
You know what I mean? Where
For
you're
sure.
Like, why am I even in here? There's nothing here.
For sure. And I mean, granted, I think most of these targets today, like even if you were shooting at like a deer or an elk, you probably would have killed it.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of those things, I mean,
there'd be some knocked out rear ends.
Yeah, for
deer
sure.
On front hooves.
For sure. Yeah, there was like, I mean,
a lot of them will be stroked.
Yeah, for sure. Because a lot of those targets, I don't know what the conversion is, but they were like not even. It didn't feel like they were even a mil across.
Yeah.
I
don't think I would have whiffed anything.
Yeah. For sure.
I think everything would have hit it.
Yeah.
Most of it, I'd say 65% probably good shots.
Yeah, for sure.
The rest.
I know, like that one that
whiffed. I wish there was an easier way to put it into context because, like, even doing these matches, you go get on having shot and paying attention to what the widths of things are and what the amount of air you have is when you get on an animal, you're like, oh.
Yep.
Could better have it together right now.
For sure. Yeah, I like that one. I wish I would have got a better range on that wolf because it was like I shot the other three like pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to that one and I had just ranged, I think, like that one was tough because the wind was kind of ripping on that rock. And like trying to hold steady, and that wolf was like that pole. I think there was a rise in front of it at like 590.
Yeah.
And like that's what I got. And I was like, because I was trying to range the bottom of the post because when I felt like I was ranging near like where the wolf was, I'm like looking through the binos and there's like blankness kind of behind it. And I was like, dude, the other one was like 4 something. And then this one's saying it's, 7 whatever, which is actually, it was closer to like 800, I think. And I was like, dude, I should have just trusted it,
Yeah, I got like 830 something. Then I got like 1,023. Then I got like 824. And and then it was like, okay, like the bush, because I was trying to range a bush to the left of it that I thought was close.
Yep.
And I should have been like, okay, I got a rough number. Now I should try to range the steel.
For sure.
Because that they're going to, I literally looked at it and was like, I'm sure he didn't put it even with that bush.
Yep.
I was like, I'm pretty sure it's in front of the bush, but like,
yeah,
I was just like, I'm going to go with it. Like,
for sure.
And I ended up being high and had to add a tiny bit more wind and come down, and then I hit it. But
nice. Yeah, kind of rough though.
Tell people about the binos.
The Swaro ELs.
EL ranges, yeah.
Yeah, they're dope.
What do you have?
The Swaro EL ranges. I have the original version, which are still gangster and they work great, you know, and like I just, you get behind those things and you're like, dude, it's just one less step, you know, like I don't have to like look at the Kestrel to like get a range, especially, like a hunting scenario where like I need to make this happen. Boom. I can just look at it. But dude, that is just like a next level. I don't even look at the range.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, is it windy or not? And like, boom, sweet.
Yeah.
Like that is amazing. And it just feels like it's not, I don't think optically it's any better than mine. I think it's like roughly the same other than those ones are 15 years newer.
Yeah.
And so like I think the glass is probably a little less tarnished. But that rangefinder is just sick.
Yeah.
Like absolutely sick. I don't know if the Leicas, do they link with your...
The Leicas link with my Kestrel, which is nice because it'll give you a wind call and it'll factor in like your aerodynamic jump. But
for sure,
the Leicas are definitely, for like match like this, they're slow.
Oh.
You can like hear them in there clunking. It's like yardage, elevation, windage. So I'm like waiting to like, okay, 6.0.
For sure.
1.2, and then I'm like writing it.
For sure.
And then I'm like the ELs are super fast.
Yeah. The laser is immediate.
And like the system, it's just doing a ballistic curve. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a faster processing.
For sure.
Where I can get like elevation, wind, and then I have a fourth output.
Oh, gotcha.
Which could be like shot probability analysis or whatever.
Oh, sure.
The Leicas are nice for hunting because I can input wind in there. And I can mess around with shot probability when we're wanting to shoot rocks and just sitting there on the mountain all day and have something to kind of do and mess around with and understand your ballistics better. But for this stuff, the Swaros are, I think, the way to go.
I think if the Swaros if they could link to your Kestrel and just have the wind readout, I think
I would definitely just use those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be, I would imagine like the computation, it's probably going to take a second, but I mean, dude, with where technology's at right now, it's like, I don't think that's that far out of the question. I mean, if Leica can do it.
Yeah.
For
sure. Tomorrow we're gonna go shoot day 2. We've only got 6 stages left. I think it dropped too many today to do too much damage on the leaderboard, but we'll just try to go shoot good tomorrow, and we're gonna go shoot, go to the awards ceremony, and then we're gonna go trying to get the fishing report.
Yeah.
Go try to catch some fish on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
So we'll probably check back in Monday morning before we go fishing, see how tomorrow went, or maybe after shooting and after day 1 of fishing.
Oh man, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll check in then.
Weekend with the boys.
Weekend with the boys. Road trip to Wyoming. Blasting and casting.
For real.
Yeah.
Fun.
Definitely could think of a lot worse things to have to be doing. So we're doing good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We'll talk to you guys in a couple days. Peace.